Morning, everybody. This is Dead Buddy. Well, it's morning for me, at least. Gotta wake and bake for this show. Fuck. Got, no energy right now. I don't know why. I just don't. So, alright, whatever. I thought about selling the podcast, but, I'm not gonna do that. So, alright. I got some wild hand histories to go over from this past week, including a session with maybe the wildest well I've ever played with. I mean, holy shit. This guy was just... Oh, there were a lot of full moons last week, so it made sense. I mean, if you haven't noticed, whenever there's a full moon out, just strange things happen. I almost just don't even want to go out sometimes, because people are going to just be acting all cracked out and shit. So, whatever. Still been on a tough run lately. It hasn't been nearly as long as it seemed like, since I keep taking extended breaks. Of course, a big part of why I've been taking those breaks is because I've just getting dejected lately, but it's only been about 75 hours worth of play, I guess. So on one level, that's great because it hasn't been that much time, but on another level, it's terrible because you are never due to win, and if you were, you're less likely to be when your tough streaks haven't even spanned that much time yet. But that aside, I think what's been getting to me the most lately is the oppositional decision variance. Only 2 or 3 years ago did it finally occur to me that just whatever buttons your opponents decide to push in key spots also take on quite a bit of variance. And when you bluff or bet for value in a particular spot, there are going to be times where the end result has nothing to do with your size or even with your line or with anything that ever had anything to do with you or how you played the hand. Sometimes an opponent simply decides they don't want to fold or that they don't want to call off, and they're not thinking about how you've been playing. They're just thinking about their hand and whether or not this is the one to go home with. So they're in essence guessing, and the more you have to guess, the more likely you are to guess wrong. Now, obviously, you want to make as few decisions as possible that you don't feel were heavily informed. Do I feel that's what everyone is doing against me lately? Making heavily informed decisions? Not really. But somehow, someway, they still keep threading the needle perfectly, and it's a little hard to wrap your head around it when you consider the constant punting and egregious blunders we see basically around the clock. Anyway, first noteworthy hand. The game had been fairly tame up to this point, falls to the cutoff, which was this middle-aged French lady with glasses. She raises to 20 and felt kind of strong, but whatever. She's the cutoff. I got king-queen off on the button. I call. One of the blinds calls. Flop comes ace-jack for rainbow, and they both check. Now, it certainly gets a bit exhausting, and you feel like you're always bracing yourself for the big jump over and over. But when the pre-flop aggressor starts slowing down right on the flop, whether it's multi-way or heads up, I tend to approach this like a green light that I need to just speed through and just start barreling because of how often the field just bets the flops they like. So I bet 35. The blind folded and the French lady calls. Okay, so this could be anywhere from pocket kings, pocket queens, although I block both. Could be a weak ace, maybe a set of aces. The turn was the 7 of clubs, 2 clubs. She checks, and then I just potted, I think. It went like 130 or 135. She thinks for a while and she calls. And now I've got her capped at around top pair. I mean, definitely capped at top pair. Probably not a great kicker. I think if she has 2 pair plus, she'll just be check raising this turn once a backdoor flush draw is now present. The river is a 6, so the backdoor flush has missed. She checks. And I jam, which is about 1.35x pot, which was it was over 500 for her. She's tanking for a while. And she's counting out the chips. And I felt so good about this bluff the whole hand, but she calls. I show, and she's got ace-king off with the king of clubs. Now, I'm not saying she should have folded, but her bluff catcher does have some things about it that she couldn't have been happy about. She blocks the missed Broadway bluffs with her king, and having the king of clubs specifically blocks any missed backdoor flush draws like king 9, king 8. But okay. As far as why she called, I mean, I don't know. Probably because of the line she took, slow playing, top pair, top kicker, and just didn't want to let it go. But I'll say this. People raising ace king and then flopping a pair on a somewhat uncoordinated flop, and then checking from any position when it's only three ways, that is extremely, extremely unusual. So, whatever. But then check this. This woman, who had been quiet and pleasant natured to this point, moments after stacking the chips, then she slightly wraps the table right next to my stack and says to me, "Nice hand." Oh, that's a new one. I can't recall another time when I triple barreled bluffing, was called down, doubled up the opponent on top of it, and then they congratulated me on the hand. I said to her, "Nice hand." I was like, I lost. And as I said this, I mean, this table had been pretty quiet with action and with words, but now it's starting to buzz a little because they're all watching me respond to this. And this woman's English was not excellent. But she continues when she said, like, you put me in a tough spot. Like, you make me have a hard decision. I was like, okay. Now, it doesn't quite feel like I'm being needled. But, holy shit. Why the fuck is it so hard for people to just take the money and shut up? How much common sense does it take for one to realize that people aren't looking to be congratulated after losing, least of all by the person they just lost to? So then this table starts saying some shit too. I mean, not so much to her, just more to each other about what she's saying. And I guess now was about the time she's finally realizing this was a really dumb comment for her to make. And then I think she said, like, I didn't mean it like that. Like, okay, I'll shut up. So she put it together. She may have even said she's sorry, too. That I forget. But either way, God, I don't care what she meant about saying, hey, you made that really hard for me. I mean, that's not something I need to hear right now. That's not going to make me feel any better. Can you just be glad that you won and leave me alone? I mean, the only way I can find some sense for any of this is just, I guess there's so many players, her especially, running 3-barrel bluffs and then overbet jamming the river is just not something they would ever even think of doing. They don't relate to this. So they don't realize how it feels, maybe. I don't know. I mean, because when they show up to play, that's the last thing they have in mind. You know, because most players' so-called strategies is built around nut paddling and then trying to get a lot of money in. And if that doesn't work, all right, well, let's just play more hands. Brilliant. So then 2 hands after this, I get a6 off in the cutoff. I raise to 20. It goes 4 ways. We all check the flop. On the turn, I pick up the nut flush draw, and I also have a Broadway draw. And this fishy player bets 45 into 80. I feel like I have to call, so I do. And I hit the spade. Hooray. He check calls 135. So, all right, I got a little payoff rebate at least. But then I said to him, good try. And the whole table laughs because it's like, lady, I ain't let you off that easy yet. I mean, it's like, do you see now again just how dumb it is when you congratulate the losing effort of the person you just meet? He was a nice guy, too. Middle-aged Italian man. He sells insurance. He handed me his business card and to others. Then he said to us that, like, he was in business or something. He said something along those lines. I was like, I know. I was like, I didn't think the card was just for decoration. God. So I said this game wasn't much action, but it was very, very soft. And then one of the other players said at some point during the game, after he'd been losing a little bit, he said, I'd rather have shitty hands than good hands that cost me money. Yeah, I've been losing lately. So then, a little while later, a pretty interesting spot came up. I got 9-8 of hearts. I think I raised under the gun 7-handed. And we go 5 ways where I would be third to act. Now the flop comes ace, king, 4, 2 hearts. The ace was not the heart. We check to the button. He bets 60. The big blind calls. I call. And the player behind me overcalls. So, in other words, shit. The turn I hit the flush, of course, but it's the jack of hearts. So, I only lose to queen high or 10 high flushes. And given my image, I don't think I want to be too passive because I can beat some small flushes too. So the big blind checks, and I could probably get away with going bigger here, but I only went a little over half pot, going 175. The last overcaller from the flop calls, the button calls, and the big blind folds. Okay. Now, one thing about suited connectors like this one is, yes, they're very pretty, but they lose a bit of value in the 2-5 games and, of course, 1-3 because they're going to get overflushed a lot more often because, unlike at 5-10, you're going to have people calling raises with hands like Queen 5 and Jack 6 a lot more frequently. Nevertheless, I do beat 7-6, 7-5, 6-5. And of the two remaining players, I wasn't expecting either of them to have a bigger flush with a big gapper like the one I just named. I mean, I don't think either one was going to have like 10-6 or Queen 3, but hey, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. But at this point, I'm figuring one of them's got to have the ace of hearts, and maybe the other one has a small flush. Maybe. Either way, just give me a clean fucking river, please. And I get one. It's a blank 3. So, all right. So the pot has 865. The button only had about 250 left at the absolute most. It was probably less than that. But the guy on my left was deep. And I decided, all right, I think I can just bet fold the river against him, as sickening as that would be. Because he's not going to raise anything but a higher flush, and it would probably only be the nuts. So I bet 480 into 865. The deeper stack tanks, and he tanks, and he tanks, and he tanks, and he folds. And then the button tanks, and he tanks, and he tanks, and he tanks, and he show folds the ace of hearts, saying that I can't be bluffing and blah, blah, blah. And he's right. Yeah, in this spot, there's no way I'm bluffing. None, zero, zip. He only has one pair. He's never going to win. So, his fold is fine. I mean, you can't really complain too much when it's that obvious. But when fishy players get down to hardly any money left and then they have this big pot in front of them, tell me not that time after time after time, they just call it off here anyway. So, whatever. His fold I can live with. But what I couldn't believe is what I heard after. The other guy who folded said he had Queen 10 off with the Queen of Hearts. So he turned Broadway, then called my turn bet with the straight and the second nut flush draw. And then he folds this hand to this size on the river. Now, obviously, his call pre-flop is a super spew. He's in the low jack, and he just flats it under the gun raise with Queen 10 off. But you don't see people making these folds on the river at 2-5. I mean, I guess having the guy behind him may have had an influence on his decision. Probably, I suppose that may have had a big influence, but he probably called pre because he thought, oh, it's this guy. He's aggressive, so that means I'm supposed to play almost every hand in the deck now. But just the combination of him doing that and then folding this hand on the river, I mean, that's another thing. It's extremely, extremely rare. And maybe he wouldn't have done that if it was just me and him. But on another day, I could 1.5x jam this river and get called by that hand because he blocks flushes and every other blinder reason in the world. He's got the straight, so they just don't fold. They just tend not to fold in these spots. Well, today they did. Sigh. Then I have a hand blind versus blind. Small blind makes it 20. I defend with 8-5 suited. Flop comes king 8-5, 2 clubs, and he bets 25, and then he calls my raise to 85. The turn is the 5 of hearts. I got a full house, 2-tone board. He check calls like 90 or 110 or I don't know. I didn't go that big, but I went in this range. Then the river is the ace of hearts. Now a backdoor heart flush came in, and now he leads into me for like 220, and he only has like 3 or 350 left. So, of course, I jam. And he tank folds too. I mean, his river bet was probably extremely stupid if he couldn't even call the jam. But once again, they got all this money in the pot. They're getting a great price. So it's just unusual to see people fold these hands at these junctures. And then there was a hand I considered 3-betting pocket nines, but I didn't. So, of course, I flopped to set that hand. Then there was another hand I considered flatting pocket 10 spree, but I 3-bet, and then I got a terrible board. It's just, one decision after another yielding the most tilting result available. Anyway, so now we fast forward to the day of the whale. It took a little while to get into his game, which just made everything seem that much more promising. If you're on the transfer list to a table that no one is leaving, then it's probably for a good reason. But before I got to that table, I was basically on the other end of the spectrum because my table sucked. I mean, even the bad 2-5 games usually aren't that bad, but this one was brutal. Pretty much everyone was either really nitty or competent or better than competent. There was one spot, but he wasn't really as fruitful as I'd originally thought he would be. But I did have one fun hand happen that involved him. I raised 20 in the cutoff with king 10 off. The button calls this Asian kid. He just looks like he's there to try hard, but won't be that bad or that good. The fishy player calls the big blind, and the flop is queen 9-8 rainbow, and we all check. The turn is the ace of diamonds, and that is a flush draw. And the fish bets, but only 25. I mean, yeah, I thought about folding, but I actually think this is an easy spot to bluff raise and pound some rivers if need be. So I make it 115, just repping ace king, and knowing that if this guy's only betting 25 into 60, he can't have that big of a hand. But then the button calls my 115. Shit. And the fish thinks for a little bit, and then he's folding, but I hear him softly say, worst laydown ever. And this is something else that's really bad etiquette and common sense to know to not do, but it happens anyway. When players start revealing significant information about their hand when the action isn't over yet, and there's nothing you can do about it at that point. You can't hit rewind, you can't unhear what they said, and you can't really punish them. Certainly not for one offense. You tell them, hey, don't do that again, but the damage is fucking done. And even if that information is helpful to me, I don't ever want it to come up because it could have been helpful to the other guy. I mean, it's just, what the fuck is wrong with people? Whatever. The river is a king, so now I've got second pair, and yeah, it could be the best hand, but I'm not going to be checking here for showdown value or look to bluff catch. I mean, the worst case scenario is my opponent now has two pair with kings and eights with specifically the king 8 of diamonds. Otherwise, he may only have a weak ace, and that's probably the likeliest scenario. But this river didn't complete any draws since jack 10 already flopped the straight, and just given the nature of this table, I saw this as a great spot to just jam the river bluffing and just represent ace king, because it would fit my line perfectly from opening pre-flop, checking a flop that would have missed ace king pretty bad, then raising a small turn bet with a flush draw now out there, and I have top pair, top kicker after the ace comes, and then blasting to rep top 2. So the guy thinks about it a little bit, and he folds. But once again, it's just a spot where I think I'm only giving some money away by checking, and if I tank the river, then I can just win this pot and not have to give up anything. If he had turned two pair with like aces and nines or aces and eights, I think he may have just raised that hand himself. I mean, I could see that one going either way, but even if he does have a hand that big, those hands are not going to love the jam when the king hits. But I don't think he threw away that big of a hand. Anyway, so I finally get my transfer, and the day took quite a turn from here. So when I joined the game, I had a pretty good idea of who the biggest spot was going to be, but this table looked like it was full of really fishy players, and the game was extremely deep. And the guy who I figured to be the biggest whale, he was deep too. Now, the seat that was open was directly on his right, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to be there. And the first hand I get dealt is kings in the cutoff. There's a straddle. Seemed like there was a lot of straddling going on. I raise to 30. He calls the button, the whale does, and one of the blinds calls, and the flop comes just queen jack X. I think I just bet pot, and everyone folds. All right. Better than getting stacked. Then seat 1 opened, and I took it because I think the whale was in seat 5 or 6, and I just wanted to get him closer to my right. And then not much happened with me for a while, but As soon as I moved seats, the whale like promptly raised a $15 open to like 125. And then like he gets a cold call. And then on like the next hand, he raises to 100 and like the button calls. So it's like, yeah, this is not going to be an ordinary day. So this guy's massive action, but so far I'm mostly just watching. Then I got aces under the gun with the straddle on, and I did something I never ever do. Normally I'm just going to raise to like 30 or 40, probably 40 in this game, but I only raised to 20. I min raised because it seemed like he liked to bomb 3-bet against small openings, but I don't know. I may have been trying to thread the needle too much there. And this is part of what happens when you're playing against really wild and crazy players is sometimes you start doing different things and after the hand is done, you're like, what the fuck was I doing? Because if he has a big hand, I mean, you want the pot to be that much bigger already by the time he 3-bets. So I make it 20. A few people call, including him, and I'm just like already want to put a gun in my mouth. But then the small blind at least 3-bets to 150. That works. Of course, it's annoying because that I opened to 40. I mean, yeah, his 3-bet size is going to be a lot bigger now, assuming he still 3-bets. So I 4-bet to, I think, 330 or something like that. It folded back to him, and he called, and the flop is fucking king, queen, 10, rainbow. Oh my god. This could not be any uglier unless he just has ace king, and then we're living right. But he checks, of course. And I thought about checking back, but I also thought I can just bet fold this flop because if I'm getting raised here, then all right, he's going to have queens or tens, maybe even kings, maybe king, queen suited, whatever. I just don't want to be put in a spot later, so I think he's going to call a flop bet with ace king anyway, definitely with like pocket jacks, so let's just fire a bet out there, and I guess I bet a quarter. He called. The turn was a brick. It was a 6. There's no flush draws. And this one I checked back because now I think it's going to be pretty tough to get called by something worse. And the river was nothing, and he checks again. Now, I probably could have bet a little bigger, but I only got one pair. And there's not too many one-pair hands here that are going to be eager to call river bets. I only bet 10% of the pot. And he called. So who knows? I mean, if it was ace-queen suited or if it was jacks and he just doesn't want to fold to a freaking tiny bet on the river, just wants to see my hand or just feels stupid. So, all right, at least I got something out of it. I mean, I was left wondering, God, what if I had just opened to 40 pre-flop? What would have happened then? And what would have happened is maybe he would have folded to the 4-bet. I don't know, because the 4-bet would have been to a much bigger size and therefore he's putting in a much greater portion of his stack, so not something he would have been thrilled about. But no point in getting caught up in all this. So the whale is just continuing to be a whale. Continuing with his tank raising pre-flop. I mean, he was all over the place. I mean, he was just clicking left and right. Sometimes he would use a normal size. Sometimes he would only go like 60. Sometimes he would go like 120. Sometimes he would fold pre. I mean, it's just you never knew what this guy was going to do. You try to form some patterns on people. You try to figure out which way they're going, but every time you started to get a sense of what this guy was going to be doing pretty consistently, he would do something else. So let's not give him too much credit. I'm not trying to say this guy was a good player, but he had a little bit of know-how at times. Throughout the day, he showed strengths, but he's just so much freaking ridiculous action that obviously he's going to be losing a freaking shitload in the game. Anyway, so here comes the first turning point hand of the day. Straddle is on, under the gun makes it 30, and I got ace-queen off and as the next action, and I thought about calling and maybe back raising if the whale squeezes, but hey, this is ace-queen off. I don't think is a great hand for that spot. So I just thought I'm just going to 3-bet anyway because it's going to look really strong. So if I have to play post-flop without the whale, at least I'm going to look extremely strong. They can bluff, or the whale will just cold call and you get to play with them anyway. And if the whale cold 4-bets, because he hadn't been doing any of that, then you can comfortably fold. So I make it 100, and the whale calls, and the razor calls. All right, fine. I have no problem at all with this. And I had even less of a problem with the flop, which was ace-queen 9, rainbow. And now the whale bets 150. and the original raiser called. And wow, I mean, talk about things having set up on a tee for you. So I raised to 625. It's like you're not sure how big you can go here. I mean, I know I can go fairly big, but like you don't want to go too big. And then they both call. Now you got to figure one of them's got straight draw, Jack 10 or who knows, maybe just a gut shot. I mean, just give me a brick, please, and I get the brick. It's a 6 of spades. Now there's a flush draw. And they check to me. The pot's got about 2,100. I have a little bit less in the pot, and I don't think I can get called by either guy, but I still have to jam. I mean, what am I going to do? Bet 700? I mean, I got to just go for it. And if I end the hand here, then all right. I mean, I guess that's not really a disaster. This pot is already pretty large. So I jam, and the whale is thinking for a long time, but he folds. And then the other guy says, oh, he's like, if he had called in, I would have had a decision, but he folds too. Then the whale asks to rabbit hunt, and the dealer does it, and it's not a flush card, but it's a 10, and the whale screams, no! He jumped out of his seat. He screamed. He was so fucking tilted, so I guess he probably just had King Jack off, or King Jack with no flush draw. I mean, he might have probably just had a gut shot and was tempted to go for it because he had just lost some big pots. And he was the kind of guy, once he started losing, he would just start dumping the money in. And he'd already done this once and promptly doubled up. He got it all in with pocket sixes for like 1,500 right after losing a couple of huge pots. And then he just holds against what was probably just ace king. So yeah, he got it in with the best hand. But like he put 1,500 in with sixes and he couldn't wait to do it. So now I'm thinking, oh baby, like this is a great spot now because not only did he walk away from $4,000 in his mind, he did so against me. So, he might be really wanting to get back at me after this. And then shortly after that, he raises to 40, and I 3-bet pocket tens to 160 on the button, and he calls, and the flop is Jack 10 deuce, 2 diamonds. He checks. Then he's like, oh, now he's going to bet like 375. So I bet 370, which was an overbet to the flop, which only had about 320 in it. And he's thinking and he's thinking and he's thinking. And he's like, I can't do it. And he folds. And I mean, he must have folded maybe like something that just had absolutely nothing. Like maybe he had like 6-5 where he has to go 3-4 to make the straight. I went so big on the flop because I thought if he has anything, he is not folding. He might just dump it in there with a flush draw. Or if he has a flush draw, he's not going to fold to any size, not in this neighborhood. If he has a gut shot, he's not folding. If he has ace deuce, he's not folding. I mean, he's just going to continue with mostly any really big size with anything. So I don't regret using the size here. I mean, it's just so gross that he had absolutely no part of it. Now he starts going on. He's like, oh, I can never beat you. I can never beat you. I mean, it's 2 hands, but okay. Now this is where things started to turn against me for a little bit. I made a unacceptable mistake. I raised to 50 with ace queen suited. It goes 5 ways, him included, of course. The flop comes king, jack, deuce, rainbow with 1 spade, and I bet 100 into 250. And I don't know what came over me, but I thought the pot only had 150. Maybe it's because I'm used to opening to 30 against straddles, so I just, for some reason, thought I did that. But I thought I was going to be betting 2/3. And instead, I'm betting way less than that. And he had quieted down for a while. And it gets back to him, folds to him, and he raises to 400. And between the Broadway draw and the backdoor no flush draw, hell, even hitting an ace could be the best hand. I mean, I can probably call this because we were pretty deep, but it's just, I don't know. I just, this is not a great spot. I wasn't sure. And I took the fucking pussy route and folded. And then he shows me the 10-4 of spades. So I have his backdoor spades crushed. All right, so it's going to be hard to hit the flush. But he may not have come out with this big raise if I had realized how much fucking money was in the pot. And if I had done so, I probably would have bet like 200 instead of 100. And he's not necessarily going to tank that size. But when it's only 100 and he's doing I mean, we know he can do math, so I don't know. I mean, I think I really fucked myself here. Just fucking terrible. So fucking terrible. But all right, on we go. So he's shown me this bluff, and now he thinks that I might want to be gunning for him now. And then I raise to 25 from middle position against his big blind, and he calls. And the flop comes king 8-6, two spades. He check calls 30. The turn is a 7, which is normally not a card you're going to be too happy to see, but this is the whale. And yeah, I'm not happy to see it, but it's the fucking whale. So he's going to have a lot of hands that are going to continue on this card. So I overbet 130, and he calls. And I was thinking, oh, the 6 would be a nice river, and it was. So now I can beat all the two pairs. Flush draw miss. He checks, and I pot it just about going 350, and then he fucking raises to 900. And even though he had shown that bluff, this is not going to be a bluff. He wasn't playing that nuts at this point in the game because he wasn't getting his ass kicked. It's a really bad call. It's just such a bad call. It's so bad. And this is the problem playing against whales, is sometimes your edge against them is not as big as you think. Because if you're going to make big mistakes against them, I mean, that makes your edge against them a whole lot smaller. I mean, I'm not saying don't take some unusual chances against them. I just think this is a really bad spot. But you know what he had? He didn't have a boat. He had 10-9 off. He turned the fucking nut straight, was faced with a 1.3x overbet, and he just calls? Oh my God. I mean, if I live to be 1,000, I don't think I'll ever see anyone do that ever again, especially a whale. When I blast this turn card, he has to be putting me on either a big hand or a big draw. Now, as it turns out, I had like the weakest hand that I would consider big in this situation, having top pair with a queen. And had he check raised the turn here, I actually think I would have folded. But once again, players just showing up with really strange lines when they have nutted hands. I mean, nobody else at the table would have been check calling that hand. No way. But okay. Had a couple other strange spots come up where he was started blind raising. We're well into the session now. And I was up a lot after that ace-queen hand, but then I've been losing it all back now. I mean, I'm only up a little bit at this point. Yeah, so I'm up stuck big and pretty tilted from that. So he's blind raising and he makes it 75 under the gun. And I got 10-9 of diamonds in the hijack and like some decent players behind me. And it's like, I don't want to call. I mean, yeah, I could just make it 200. I mean, it's fine to just make it 200, but he's been 3-betting like a maniac again. And you know, I can't call anything huge there. I mean, this game is like sort of turned into a 10-20 game, at least when he wants it to be. So I fold. I mean, I don't think it's bad. And of course, I see the flop with two other people, or him and one other person. And of course, then the flop is 10-9-4. Why wouldn't it be? But then suddenly I find myself in another interesting spot. He was playing crazy for a while, but then he calmed down. So he opened limps from under the gun. And this other reg, who was stuck in the game, being very nitty, you could just tell it was going to be very nitty. He raises to 25. I got queens next action. And I just called because I thought 3-betting might knock the whale out of the pot. Now, I didn't think that before when I had the ace-queen off, but his state of mind seemed to be a lot different at that time. So I didn't think 3-betting here was going to be that great, especially against this nit who, you know, even though he's not very aggressive, I mean, he's still going to have a lot of hands that aren't great. He's just going to be isolating the fish. So I just flat the 25, and then the next guy behind me 3-bets to 125, and he's really deep. And I didn't think he was that good of a player, but he's aware of enough things going on that, like, this should not be a weak hand. So it gets back to the original raiser because the whale folded. He called, and then I called. And I'm just, God, like, what's going to happen now? Well, what happened was the flop was queen jack 5, 2 hearts. So we check to the 3-better. He bets 225, I think, or 230. And the original raiser calls. So I check raise big. I make it 900. We're all deep. And the 3-better folds. Gets back to the nitty reg. And he jams. Whoa. Call. Turn is an 8, no heart. River is a 9, no heart. Any 10 makes it straight. He turns his hand over fast. I think I'm going to lose. No, he has a set of jacks. Wow, cold deck. So just like that, I'm having a big day again. But then this comment comes from the guy who had just 3-bet pre. I still cannot understand this fucking comment. He says, now he's trolling me. Now he's giving shit to me. I've been card dead most of this session, by the way. I mean, I've had some really wild decisions come up. For the most part, I was just sitting there. He says to me, it's like if you'd play your hand like a grown-up, you'd have gotten the full double up. So now I'm like being needled. I was just like, what? I was like, how did I play it? He's like, you played it really weird. Now, normally this is an invitation to just really unload on somebody because this is an incredibly idiotic statement, and I'll explain why in a second. But I think with the whale sitting there, I don't know. I didn't want to get into an argument with someone, so I just let this idiot think whatever he wanted to think. But, okay, if I had 3-bet pre, how does this lead me to making him think he has to now go with his hand? He folded to my check raise on the flop. If I had 3-bet, what's he trying to say? Like he had kings or aces? So if I had 3-bet the queens, let's just say I make it 80 or something, then he's going to cold 4-bet. And if he doesn't make it too huge, I guess I'll be calling it. But when the flop comes, queen, jack, whatever, let's just say it's heads up at this point. Let's just say the guy folds his pocket jacks because there's a freaking 3-bet and a cold 4-bet, and it's coming from the early positions. I mean, can't imagine this guy was going to continue with jacks. So if he's got kings or aces, the guy who did 3-bet pre, and then I call a cold 4-bet, and then I check raise a queen jack X flop, what's he trying to say? He's going with it in that hand? Why? I mean, it's like, you think I'm only check raising sets in a 3-bet pot, but when I'm check raising in a 4-bet pot, you think my range is now significantly wider that you have to go with it in an overpair? I mean, it just comment made absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. In fact, given the way this hand did play, he can only put me on a set of 5s or maybe queens and jacks, since he's like so utterly certain I got to be 3-betting any other significant pair. I mean, if I'm 3-betting queens, I'm guessing he thinks I should 3-bet jacks too. But yeah, just no clue as to why I made that move, and I'm not going to explain it to him. If I could have gotten to the pot with the whale, then, maybe something really sick could happen. Maybe I could have tripled up. You never know. All right, so now the whale started losing again, and then I get into another hand with him where I have ace-queen off, and I raise to 50 because I think he had straddled, and then the flop comes ace-deuce 5 with a flush draw. It's heads up. He bets into me 75. I still think I should have raised, but I called. The turn is another 5. Two-tone board now, and he checks. And I bet 250, and he makes it fucking 650. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening again? Because I've been having a lot of tough spots against this guy. I mean, I haven't talked about all the hands, but I was having to fold to him a lot. And I already paid him off when he had the fucking 10-9 and the board paired 6s. And I don't know what he's got here. I mean, I can beat ace-deuce. I can't beat a wheel. He's not going to have ace-king. He's not going to be doing this with just a random ace. I mean, does he just have a 5? Like, did he just donk with a small pair on the flop and just see if he can end the hand there? Or just felt like betting because he just wants to bet? I mean, people do that all the time when they get stuck and stupid. All I know is, like, I don't think this guy thinks I want to fold to him ever. And this is all set up for a huge, huge, huge bet on the river. And it made me sick, but I just folded to this fucking raise. And he didn't show, so all right. I mean, that's never a bad sign. You'd think, since he already bluffed once with the 10-4, you'd think that he would have wanted to show that bluff again. And plus, I mean, he's a whale. These are recreational players. It's one of their favorite things to do is to show a bluff. So if he doesn't show, then all right. Maybe he just had like 5-3 or 5-4 or something. Just pairing a gut shot and turns trips. I mean, that's highly conceivable. Then shortly after that, he gets into a hand with the guy who was making fun of me for not playing my pocket queens like a grown-up and thus costing myself a full double up against him. Okay, so they get into a hand where the flop was king, jack, 8. The whale bet. He got raised. He called. Turn was another jack. Then the whale bet 400, and he got called. And then the river was an ace. and the whale jammed like 2,000. And he had yet to show a bluff or get called with a bluff in a spot where he was putting in piles. But this other guy is thinking, and he's like, I don't know if I'm good enough to fold this. He's doing this whole little show. He's like, I really don't like that river. And I'm thinking maybe he's got only a jack and he's just worried he made a straight. I mean, I don't know. He calls. Whale says, you're good. And then he leaves. I mean, he'd been there for hours and hours. He'd been there since the morning he was talking about it. So he's probably been there 12, 13 hours. God knows how much he's buried in this game. So he ends on a bluff. But you know what this guy had? The grown-up? Jack 8. He flops he flops bottom two pair, turns a boat, and then the ace comes on the river, and he's scared of this card against this player. This is the same fucking guy who's mocking me, telling me that I played my queens like weird, and I didn't play it like a grown-up, and that's why it cost a full double up against him. And then he nit rolls the fucking shit out of the easiest guy to call in the world. You have a fucking full house. You're not folding. You know you're not folding. What are you wasting everyone's time for? And you could tell he looked embarrassed. A good embarrassment. He just won fucking another 3,000. But nevertheless, embarrassed over the fact that he nit rolls the shit out of this guy. I said to him, that was a very grown-up call of you. And he's just like, yeah, because he knows he's a fucking moron for wasting all that time with that hand. So then, it'd been a long day for me too. I played a little longer. Then I left. Which brings us to Sunday. This session started out with kind of a boring game, but it got better. This white woman joined the game. This woman who I see once in a while in little streaks. She's just a recreational player. She's tall. She's like probably in her 60s. I mean, she's like friendly, but she's really fucking obnoxious too. And she's very whiny and complains a lot when she loses. And it's just one of these players that just acts like they know so much more about poker than they do. There's nobody's brains you want to bash in harder than these types. I mean, and she's such a station and just, oh God. I mean, it's the only reason anybody puts up with her is because she's a losing player, whether she could admit it or not. So she raises to 15 under the gun, and I 3-bet middle position with queen 10 of hearts to 50, and she calls. And she doesn't buy in that deep originally. It's when she gets stuck, then she'll buy in deeper. So, I know she's not going to be opening particularly light from under the gun, especially when she's not losing, but I just have no respect for anybody's fucking game. I mean, their ability to play post-flop is so weak that it just makes sense to 3-bet with anything that's you consider playable almost. I mean, because they're not going to check raise bluff post-flop. They're not going to go for thin value. They're not going to do anything that's going to make life hard for you, so you can get away with this. So the flop comes Jack 6 deuce, I think, 2 hearts. All right, pretty good. She check calls like 70, I think. Yeah, pot's got 240. And then I hit the flush with the 4 hearts. It didn't pair the board. It was queen. It was Jack 4 deuce 6. She check calls 110. Then the river is a king. And she checks, and I jam her stack in probably like 450. She snap calls because she loves to do that. And I win. And she's rebuying, and, she's playing a little looser and more spewy and things like that. But she's also one of these people that just plays in accordance to how things are going with her. If she's having a bad day, she just starts blasting whenever she has it because she doesn't want to get sucked out on, because she thinks that she's just on one of those days where I'm just getting sucked out on all day. So now I have to protect my hand more than I normally would. This is how these players think. And they tell you with a straight face that this is a real strategy. So then came the hand against somebody else, although she was in the pot. I 3-bet ace king from the small blind, and the flop comes ace 10 8, all diamonds. We all check. She checked in position. Turn is a 5. I bet 100, and the original raiser who had called my 3-bet, he calls. She folds. The river is another ace, and I bet 385 close to pot, and he just calls with pocket tens. He flops a set. Doesn't bet the flop, just calls the turn bet, and doesn't raise this river bet. All right. Then there's a limp. I make it 25 at queen jack suited. It folds over to the lady. She makes it 325. Okay. Nice. Now I was getting close to leaving, and I couldn't wait to go home, but I had a table transfer to a game that looked very good. when they called the table change for me, I like reluctantly took it. I actually had like this weird feeling going into the table, but you know something? And I talked about this the other day with John Arndt this hand. We're going to go over it again, but I just was like, all right, I want to fucking play. I didn't want to leave after 4 hours originally. I wanted to stay a little longer, but the game was so boring that I was getting ready to leave. But now I'm in a game where maybe it'll make sense for me to stay. So, all right, first order of business, straddle. There's a limp. I make it 45 at queens. I get 3-bet to 165. I go heads up. It comes 9-5-5 rainbow. He bets small, 115. I raise to 265, and he rips fucking 1300. And it's tempting because I'm a brand new face. And I don't know if this guy's just overvaluing a hand, but I thought if he was overvaluing a hand I beat, he probably would have just bet a lot bigger on the flop, so I folded. And this should not make people think I'm about to go on tilt now just because I lost this hand. But then a couple hands later, and I'm still brand new, of course, I raised to 20 with ace-9 of diamonds up front. There's a call. The guy who I just folded the queens to, 3-bets to 65. And then the small blind cold calls to 65. And I thought about calling, but I think calling is not going to be very good with a hand like this. So I think it's just fold or 4-bet. And I 4-bet to 270 because the 3-bet to 65 looks a little weak. It might not be weak, but I tend to just 4-bet bluff only when people start 3-betting with really small, strange sizes. And I have an ace blocker, so when they do 3-bet to a very small size, if it is value, it does tend to be aces. So having an ace here is really nice. So nobody calls the 270 except the small blind. And when it folded to the small blind, I figured, all right, I'm going to win. But then he calls again. But okay, all right, at least I got position. Totally whiffed the flop. Comes 10 deuce 3 rainbow. Don't have any backdoor or anything except for the wheel. He checks, and I think I just got to airball it away here. I bet 180, and I know he's not folding to this. And he calls. Turns a jack of clubs, so the jack and 10 are clubs. So there's 3 combos of jack 10 suited, just to point that out. He checks, and I know I might be betting into a set of 10s or jacks, but it's just, and I block pocket 9s, but all right, we're going to do it anyway. I rip, I fade the terrorizing snap call. He's tanking, and he's tanking, and he's tanking, and he's tanking, and he calls. Fuck. Must have jammed like 1200 here. River's a king, which would have been a terrible card for him had I checked back, and I actually briefly considered doing that. So I show, and he shows pocket 4s. Pocket 4 is the nuts. And while I don't regret jamming the turn, had I checked the turn, I would have definitely gotten a fold on this river. But there's not that many rivers that I think I'm going to get the fold on. So I think I just got to jam and just hope I get the fold. I mean, this is the problem with being the new face. Because if I had been in this game for even just like another 20 minutes, and let's say I'd been tame in that 20 minutes, this bluff, which already came very close to working, is that much likelier to work. But players are more likely to think I'm aggressive when I sit down because I got the resting bitch face. I just look like someone who's there to try to make money. So they're going to think that it's more likely that you can bluff this spot, at least right when you sit down. And I was a little nervous about firing it because ace-king and ace-queen has incentive to bet that turn card, as does ace-4 and ace-5. I mean, with or without flush draws, combo draws. King-queen turns very well on that card. I mean, yes, it's very obvious to me that it's going to be obvious to him that there's a lot of hands that are just drawing now, and there's only 18 combos of overpairs and plus 6 more of set of jacks or 10s if I were to use this size with either of those hands. And some players look at that and think you're just trying to rep having the draw, and some players look at this and think, oh, ooh, he can have the draw, and here's a chance for me to be a hero, even though like their equity is just so bad. He has pocket 4s. His cold calling to 65 is terrible before I even 4-bet to 270. So this is just a guy willing to die on the hill. I mean, he has pocket 4s. He blocks 2 of the bluffs on top of it. I mean, it's like, if you think I could be bluffing with ace-4, you block 2 of those. You don't want to be blocking a single bluff when you're looking to be a total hero in a spot like this. I mean, the lucky part for him is just the fact that I had basically minimal equity versus hand. I mean, the only way I could have had even less equity is if I had like ace deuce or something. Only 5 outs. I mean, as it is, I only had 6. Most of the time here, I'm going to have at least 10 outs. But look, like I said at the start of this, is just decision variance. Sometimes the people they just decide they don't want to fold. They want to be. They want this to be their moment, and he picked it, and it worked. And when people see this hand, they're thinking, "Wow, this guy's crazy about both of us." And yeah, they're licking their chops over the prospect of me possibly about to go on tilt, but at the same time, you see this hand, it's going to put you back on your heels a little bit. And they know that this bluff is usually going to work. I mean, it's extremely rare that you're going to get called by that hand. But I managed to bite my tongue. I mean, I wanted to tell him, like, you can lose to some bluffs. And I mentioned this the other day, too. How sick it would have been if I had like 5, 6s, or 7s and I was just trying to get him off 8s or 9s or maybe even jacks and just merge this spot. Because, hey, look what people call us sometimes. I mean, it's a perfect combination of circumstances to even make it possible, but it's something to keep in mind for the future. But God, I mean, that one hurt. I mean, it just took the perfect run out. I mean, if the turn was like an 8 and I jam, I think this bluff is going to work now because he's going to not think that I'm as likely to do this with just ace king or ace queen. Like, he needed the perfect run out of where there's a wheel draw and a Broadway draw just to get him to think about it. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, but like, you have to think that with both of the wheel draw and Broadway draws being present, that was definitely pushing him in the direction of calling a lot. And with a flush draw turning. I mean, there's so many situations where he would not have hero called this. But whatever. That's variance. And throughout the rest of the session, I never said a word. And, every day we go in there, we want to like beat the shit out of people and scare them and all these things and show how great you are. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to show how tough you are by not allowing yourself to become unhinged because you got called by a hand that's never supposed to call you, and now you just lost a huge pot, and now you're stuck. I mean, I was this close to leaving. Now I'm stuck big. And I had this weird feeling going into the table, and 1, 2, 3, bam, bam. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Just not play in this game now? Or should I just listen to this feeling next time and just never make the table transfer? I mean, oh, God. You can drive yourself crazy with stuff like that. I wanted to play. I don't think I did anything wrong. Guy called me with pocket fours. You think this guy's a fucking winning player? So the next hand that comes up, there's a raise to 15, I think, or 20, and there's 2 calls, including him again, Mr. Pocket Force on the cutoff. I 3-bet Queen 10 suited from the small blind to 100 or 120. I don't even remember. He calls again in position, so we're heads up. And the flop comes King 10 blank with 2 diamonds, and I got clubs, so I just got second pair. I check. He thinks for a little bit and checks. Turn is nothing. I bet 150, and he calls. And the river completes the flush and a possible straight because it's a queen of diamonds. So I got 2 pair. I bet 290, and he's got kings and queens. He calls, of course. Oh, God. I mean, he has such an easy 3-bet from the cutoff. I mean, there's already a caller in front of him. Like, king, queen suited is a big hand, people. This is a good hand. Why do people never, ever 3-bet this? I mean, hey, continue to keep playing that way. But it's just like mind-boggling because the guy probably thinks he's such a genius when he checks back top pair on the flop and probably just thinks he schooled the shit out of me again. It's like, dude, I 3-bet. You happen to have me dominated. We both flop a pair. Neither one of us bets, and then I bet the turn, and it's funny because I was going to be betting kind of big on the river with just second pair. Instead, I river 2 pair. He rivers top 2 pair. I mean, holy shit. This is when it's really starting to rain shit on you. And then I fucked up because I got king, jack of clubs in the small blind, and the next time it's my small blind, there's a raise and a couple calls. I 3-bet to 100. The open raiser calls, and our best friend with pocket fours calls again. So we're 3 ways. I guess the flop has about 315. So I guess the pot has about 315, and the flop comes jack 7-6 rainbow with a club. And I should just bet this. I mean, I wanted to make people think that, if I'm checking, that means I'm slowing down and giving up, or that I don't like my hand that much. But I can still just bet this flop into both players and proceed. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Either one of them could have flopped a set. Maybe one of them has 7-6. I mean, there's going to be some turn cards I'm not thrilled to see, but just bet, for God's sake. I mean, it's tough playing with this image, but when you have a hand this good, betting is fine. But I check, and they all check. And then the turn is a queen. Perfect. We check to pocket four's man in position, and the hero bets 200 quickly, and I'm pretty sure that queen hit him, and I fold. And the other guy, this little Asian kid, he thinks for a while, and he folds. And then pocket four's hero shows ace queen. Then we get into a hand where I have 9-4 offsuit in the big blind. Nobody raises. The flop comes ace 9-5. We all check. And the turn is another 9. There's 2 diamonds. Now the small blind bets 35. Now the small blind is this fucking jackass. This fucking white guy who he should get married to that white woman I was talking about before. He's another one. I think he's a better player than she is, but he's another one who thinks way too much of himself and is just always exerting his commentary into situations, just trying to show how much he knows about the game. So he's overbetting this turn card, and I have trips, and I'm just like, what is he doing? But then, like 3 or 4 players, whoever was left, they all folded out of turn. I was the first player to act, and everyone folds out of turn. And you know this could affect his thinking, whether it should or shouldn't. I mean, obviously, it can make a difference. So I call, the river's a 4, flush draw misses. He bets 60. I raise to 225. He shows me an ace. He shows me ace 7 off, and he folds. And he's like, probably the wrong decision. He's like, next time. You know, just covering his ass. Exactly what you expect from these types of players. But then he's like, everyone folding on a turn. He's like, that really changed the action, didn't it? I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm I don't feel like having this conversation, least of all with this fucking idiot. And then he's like, it changes the action. He's like affirming it. I'm like, okay, bend me over if you must as well. I mean, it's just, I bit my tongue on this, but what I wanted to say to him, but I didn't want to get into a tit for tat with this guy, okay? He's fucking lecturing me. It's like, what I wanted to say to him is like, you want to talk lectures? I was like, okay, your river bet accomplishes nothing. You have an ace with no kicker, and the draw missed, and the board paired on the turn. Why are you overbetting this turn card anyway? You don't think any one of us could have just checked a 9 on the flop? There's like 5 players left. What the fuck are you doing? You have an automatic check on the turn. You don't bet any size on this turn. An automatic check, and he overbets. And I was thinking about raising because of the flush draw with players behind me. I still think I would have called. But it gets to affect his thinking. It gets to make him think that, you know, now I'm more likely to slow play a 9. But why is he betting this river? He has no idea why he's betting this river. He's just thinking, oh, I got an ace, I'm going to bet. I'm not calling with a flush draw. And if I have a 9, I'm calling or raising, and now you're going to have a tough decision, and you don't get to see my hand, of course, if you fold. His his river bet is so stupid. He doesn't even realize how stupid it is. So then pocket four's hero, he moves out of that seat, and someone took his seat. And no one even said anything about him leaving. No one said anything about the seat. No one said anything. Someone was just taking his seat. But then he said, Mr. Ace 7 offsuit expert, he says, and by the way, him and four's hero were jerking each other constantly. I mean, they were having some kind of male bonding bullshit. I mean, he said, I was like, I don't think it's the seat. I think it's the player. Like, can you guys just go get a room or something and just leave the game? Because you're fucking killing me here. I mean, God, no one said it was the seat. He just wanted to take that fucking seat. What is that, out of the question? So then I get into another crazy spot. There's a straddle and a limp. I raise to 50 with 10s. We go 4 ways. I'm third to act out of 4. The flop comes 8, 7, 2 hearts. I have a heart. But it goes check, check, and checking flop here is fine. So I do. And this old Asian man in position bets 125. And there's one call from the fish. And he felt kind of strong when he did that, but I wasn't sure. I mean, just fucking call. So I do. Turn is a queen, no heart. We all check. That was encouraging. The river's a deuce. All the draws miss. Fish checks, and now I'm very comfortable value betting this situation. So I bet 230, and he immediately jams this Asian guy. Like, I mean, probably another 700 or 800. I mean, folds to me, and I immediately fold because this can never be a bluff, but it's like, what is his fucking value? I mean, I could see him calling if, say, he had a queen high flush draw and doesn't want to get jammed on the turn in case someone's slow playing a huge hand, but not jam a queen. I mean, what the fuck? Did he just like blast the flop with deuces to try and end the hand and just gave up on the turn? Now he rivers a boat? I mean, that is the only hand I can think of that makes even a little bit of sense. You know, sometimes you get into these spots where the only hand you lose to is this, and that hand seems very unlikely, but out of all the hands, that is the only hand that makes any sense, or the closest to possibly making sense, is pocket twos. That's what I think he had. I think he just rivered a boat. Then I get into another spot, straddle pot, I think, where the queen of clubs was exposed pre-flop. Well, actually, and an 8 was exposed as well. But the queen of clubs, and this was significant, I got ace 4 of diamonds or hearts, I forget which. And the flop comes 10-5 deuce with 2 clubs. So yeah, I had a wheel draw and I think a backdoor flush draw. And I normally don't like c-betting out of position because I'd raise and the Asian guy had called and another player called, so I was sandwiched between the two. Normally I like checking these flops, but when you're running like this, you know, you start putting the pedal down a little bit more often. So I bet, and Asian guy calls, other guy folds, and the turn is the 8 of clubs. So the queen of clubs is gone, so that blocks some flushes. And the 8 was mucked also, so that blocks some 2 pairs. What'd I say it was? 10-5 deuce? Yeah, so 10-5 deuce 8. So I bet 175 into, I don't know, probably like 300, and he immediately raises to 400. God, how, like, where, I feel like I'm in the freaking Twilight Zone here. So once again, I fold. I mean, I don't know what this looks like to anybody if they just think I'm spewing left and right, but I mean, I'm just getting punched in the face every time I poke my little head up. One final hand to talk about, and I will say this was very satisfying. That Asian kid who had moved to the pocket fours hero seat, he opens to 15 under the gun, and there were already 2 occasions where I had opened pre from the button, and I could tell he wanted to 3-bet me, but was afraid to do so and just called. So I 3-bet to 50 with ace-jack of clubs. It folds back to him, and I could tell he's thinking about 4-betting, but he calls. He's too scared to do it. And then the flop comes jack deuce 3, 2 diamonds and a club. He's not super deep. He checks. I bet 60. He makes it 180 and confidently makes it 180. And I jam like a pot size rejam, maybe like 450, 500. And he's tanking for a really long time. I mean, I figured there's no way this little shit is going to check raise and fold. But he's really put himself in a terrible spot here. I mean, I don't know what he's got. If he's got like 9s or 10s or something, but because if he had me beat, I mean, there's no way he's going to tank this long. So, or tank for even 2 seconds. But he's thinking and he's thinking and he's thinking and he calls it off, turns an ace, rivers a 10, all the flush draws miss, and aces and jacks are good. So it was very satisfying to take this little kid down. You know, I see a lot of players like him throughout the year, whether they're Asian or not, doesn't matter. Just these young players who just, they're breaking into poker. They have some know-how, probably don't have a big bankroll, think they can do it, and maybe they can. But after seeing me bluff off with ace-9 there, I mean, that was just lurking in the back of his head the whole time. You know this kid was not comfortable playing against me at any point, and it's just satisfying to flop top pair in a 3-bet pot and just get him to stack off on the flop. And when he tossed in his call, he was just like, fuck my life. I mean, why did I put myself in this spot? I mean, you just totally threw a wrench into everything he knows about poker, and he just forgets everything he's ever learned, and he just gets destroyed in this one hand. So, like some people say, bluffs are investments. I would have rather, I think I would have taken the ace-9 getting a fold there on the turn, but all right, got a little bit back. I mean, I did well at first because I stacked the white woman with the flush. I was up like 850 or something early on. I ended up getting down over 3,000 and finished down about 2,500 on the day. So pretty heavy landslide going in the wrong way at the end of a session, last couple hours. I mean, I was going to play 4 hours. I ended up playing 7 instead. So tough day all around. But what's there to say? It's just another day of poker, just one day of poker. Whenever you bluff off and lose a huge pot, it feels like you lost your whole bankroll. But this downswing I've been on, I mean, it's never as big of a deal as it seems like in the moment. So there's nothing to say. Just get back at it. So, all right. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.